Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 8. We continue our discussion on the search powers of the police provided under the Police Act 2020. The last episode, we started the search powers and we answered the questions whether a search police can stop and search and in what circumstances, where, and the articles that the police may search for, may seize and detain. In this episode, we'll continue our discussion on police stop and search. We'll proceed to section 50. We'll talk about action before a search takes place. And then we'll proceed to section 51, general conduct of a search. How is a search to be conducted? Section 50 and 51. Action before a search takes place. Now, before a police conducts a search, what are the necessary actions to be taken? In terms of precautions on both sides. Now, 51, section 50, subsection 1 of the Police Act 2020. Where a police officer is exercising the powers under 51 of this act. Now, 51 is conducting search, general conduct of a search. Let me read section 51. We'll still come back to it. General conduct of search. 51, subsection 1. Reasonable effort shall be taken to minimize the embarrassment that a person or person whose property is being searched may experience. So the police must take proper effort to minimize the embarrassment that a person or the person whose property is being searched may experience. Remember, we said the police can search a person and can search a property. For search of property, a search warrant is needed. We already discussed that. Now, where the police chooses to exercise a search on a person or a property, it shall take reasonable effort to minimize the embarrassment the person or property receives. I'm reading 51. We'll still go back to 50. That's 51 subsection 1. 51 subsection 2. Now, the cooperation of the person to be searched shall be sought in every case. The police should seek the cooperation of the person to be searched. 51 3. Now, a forcible search may be used as a last resort. Please listen. Forcible search may be used as a last resort only if it has been established that the person being searched is unwilling to cooperate or resist. So the police can forcibly search a person or a premises. That's where it has a search warrant. If only it has been established that the person or the premises is unwilling to cooperate. Take note. Forcible search, 51 subsection 3. Forcible search may be used as a last resort only if it has been established that the person being searched is unwilling to cooperate or resist. 51.4. The length of time for which a person or vehicle may be detained for a search depends on the circumstances, but this shall be within a reasonable time. This shall be within a reasonable time. So it's not for the police to delay. Maybe you stop a vehicle on the road, then you delay the person for hours as if the person has no job to do. It's not, No, that's wrong. The length of time for which a person or vehicle, I'm reading from section 51, subsection 4 of the Police Act. The length of time for which a person or vehicle may be detained for a search depends on the circumstances, but this shall be within a reasonable time. 51.5 now. Searches in public shall be restricted to superficial examination of outer clothing. Take note. Searches in public shall be restricted to superficial examination of outer clothing only. So you don't say he should take off his clothes. You can only search his pocket, his trousers, pocket trousers, back pocket, and you won't ask, the police officer shouldn't ask the person to take off his clothes. No. How does that? No, that's wrong. 51 subsection 6. Where it is considered necessary to conduct a more thorough search that requires a person to take off his clothes or headgear, it shall be done out of public view. Take note. 51.5. We say searches in public shall be restricted to superficial examination of outer clothing only, that is the clothing. Now, 51.6 now goes further and says, where it is considered necessary to conduct a more thorough search that requires a person to take off his clothes or headgear, it shall be done out of public view and by an officer of the same sex with the person being searched. Take note. Where the police officer thinks he needs to conduct more thorough search, it shall be done out of public view and shall be done by an officer of the same sex. So it must be done in private and by an officer of the same sex. A male police officer cannot say, I want to conduct a more thorough search for a female person or someone who is a woman now. And, no, that's wrong. It must be done first out of public view, and it must be done by an officer of the same sex. Take note. 6B. Now, it may not, now, where it is considered to conduct a more thorough search that requires the person to take off his clothes or headgear, it's 6B now, may not be made in the presence of anyone of the opposite sex unless the person being searched requests it. Take note. So it must not be made in the presence of anyone of the opposite sex unless the person being searched requests it. So a police officer wants to search a man thoroughly, it must be done first in private. Now, it may not be done in the presence of anyone of the same sex except the person to be searched requests it. First, it must be done in private by a police officer of the same sex, and it can only be done in the presence of someone of the opposite sex where the person to be searched requested. So maybe a couple is traveling and the police officer wants to search the husband more thoroughly. He has to take him first into the private, and the police officer who is conducting the search must first be a male. Now, such a man must not be searched in the presence of an opposite sex except he himself requests it. So he can say, okay, this is my wife. I want you to search me in the presence of my wife because I requested it or because the man requested it. Take note. Take note. Take note. So let's go back to section 50. Remember, section 50 brought us to section 51. We should have started from section 50. Actions before a search takes place. Where a police officer is exercising the powers under section 51, which we just read, powers to, first, it must minimize the embarrassment that a person or property received that is being searched. Okay, the cooperation of the person to be searched shall be sought. Forcible entry or forcible search shall only be last resort where it is established that the person doesn't want to cooperate or the people occupying the premises do not want to cooperate. Searches in public shall be restricted to superficial closing. However, where a police officer thinks he wants to conduct a more thorough search, he must take the person to private, and the search must be conducted by the person of the same sex. Those are just necessary precautions, okay, and safeguards. Now, let's go back to section 50. 50 subsection 1, where a police officer is exercising the powers under section 51 of this act, he shall, before carrying out the search, question the person about his behavior or his presence in circumstances which give rise to the suspicion. Okay, he shall question the person about his behavior or his presence in circumstances which give rise to the suspicion. 50 subsection 2 now, if the person to be searched has a satisfactory explanation which makes a search unnecessary, or other circumstances come to the attention of the police officer that makes the search unnecessary, no search may take place. 53. Before any search of a detained person or vehicle may take place, the officer shall give the person to be searched and in charge of the vehicle, 1, his name, take note, and the name of the police station to which he is attached, the object of the search, and his ground authorization for undertaking the search. So, 50 subsection 3, section 50 subsection 3 of the Police Act says that before any search of a detained person or vehicle may take place, so before a police officer can search a person or a vehicle, the officer shall give to the person to be searched or in charge of the vehicle his name. So the officer must tell you his name. Are we together? Before he can search a person or a vehicle, the officer must tell you his name, the name of the police station to which he is attached to his division, the division A, division B, division whatsoever, state CID, whichever zone, he must tell you his name, and he must give you the name of the police station to which is attached to, the object of the search, what he's looking for. He must tell you the object of his search, what he is looking for, and his ground or authorization for undertaking the search, the reason why he is searching for such thing. Section 50 subsection 3. Take note. Take note. Now 54. For any police officer to exercise the power to stop and search, he shall be in uniform or wear visibly a valid police identity card. He shall be in what? Uniform and wear visibly a valid police identity card. There's a judgment, a recent judgment as to that, of course. You mentioned that we are not going to be discussing judgments or judicial precedent case laws that either uphold or repeal any of these things. But the name of the case is Maxwell against IGP, I think. Yeah, Maxwell against IGP, where a federal high court said that every police officer, some of these police officers, they wear a police uniform to cover their name. So you don't know who they are. Some of them even cover their faces. They wear a police uniform to cover their name tags. There's a name tags on their chest. I think, is it on the right or on the left? And, so, which is very, very wrong. So, I think the Federal High Court, Maxwell against IGP, okay? I'm not going to discuss that. So 50 subsection 4. For any police officer to exercise the power to stop and search, he shall be in uniform or wear visibly a valid police identity card. So where he is not in uniform, he shall wear a valid police identity card, an ID card that is visible. Where he is in uniform, his name must be displayed on the uniform. Okay, Maxwell and IGP. I'm not going to be discussing that. So thank you very much for joining this episode of Search. In the next episode, we'll continue on the powers of the police. Thank you.